Okay. Another question here is about McDonald's burger, which is called a Big Mac, sold in two countries. One is in the United States, and I use New York to represent that country, and another is in Beijing. So you will see that it's the $5 sold in New York and the 15 Chinese yuan sold in Beijing. And you also have the exchange rate right here. Okay, so that's $0.14 per yuan, and that is the direct interest, direct quote for Americans. Because for Americans, Chinese yuan is a foreign currency, it's a foreign commodity. So they just use the dollar price for each of Chinese yuan. But for us, for Chinese, our direct quote would be like 7 yuan per dollar, because for Chinese, the dollar is the foreign currency, so we use our local currency to measure dollars. So that's 7 yuan or 6.8 yuan per dollar. Anyways, so in this case, we want to know how much is Chinese yuan overvalued or undervalued, and we also need to calculate the dollar price for Big Mac in Beijing, and also answer, does the US dollar have more or less purchasing power in China? All right. So it's pretty straightforward, but you can easily get messed up if you don't follow the procedural. And the first thing you can do is to get the purchasing power parity. All right. So under purchasing power parity, okay. So one Big Mac is the same. All right, one Big Mac is the same in China and in US. So it's the same, so it will cost the same and will cost the same in US and China. So that's the meaning of a parity. Okay, it's the same and will cost the same, and so that basically equalize the $5 US dollar, to 15 Chinese yuan. Okay, so that equals to one Big Mac. All right, so $5 under purchasing power parity has the same purchasing power as 15 Chinese yuan, because they can all buy one Big Mac. All right, and then you will need to calculate the purchasing power exchange rate. All right, so you will need to use $5 divided by 15, $5 15 yuan, so that is 0.33 US dollar per yuan. Okay, 0.33 US dollar per yuan. So under purchasing power parity, each one is worth 1/3 of US dollar. All right, but if you make comparison, all right, the second thing is you're gonna make comparison the PPP rate versus actual rate, and you will use the PPP rate as the benchmark. All right, and you will find out that this 0.14, the actual rate, is less. Okay, so when actual rate is less than the PPP rate, you can see $0.14 per yuan is less than $0.33 per yuan, so that's less. Okay, and that basically means the currency, the Chinese yuan, not US dollar, because in this case we are Americans. Okay, we're using American textbook. We take the perspective of US people. So in the eyes of Americans, the Chinese yuan is undervalued. Okay, it's undervalued because the actual rate is less than the benchmark. Chinese yuan is undervalued by how much? Then you will need to use the actual rate of a 0.33, 0.14, the actual rate divided by 0.33, then minus 1. Okay, so it is also like 0.14 minus 0.33, the difference divided by 0.33. So it is pretty easy to do. So you can do the math, and you will find out it is going to be negative. Okay, negative of 58%, or 57.5, 57.6%. So Chinese yuan is undervalued by 57.6%, and it's not just Chinese yuan is undervalued by a lot, but also the Thai baht, the Thai currency, the Hong Kong dollar is also undervalued. What are the overvalued currency, like Swedish krone, Norwegian krone, and the Swiss franc? These European currencies, they are usually pretty overvalued. So that means the things are very expensive in those European countries, and the things are cheaper in China, in Thailand, and also in Southeast Asian countries. Okay, Southeast Asian countries. And the next question here is, please answer, calculate the dollar price of a Big Mac. So that's easy to do. So let's say in the U.S., let's say as American, you spend $5 in the U.S. All right, and when you go to, as American, you spend $5 in the U.S. To buy a hamburger. As you go to China, you're gonna spend 15 yuan. Okay. And how much is that in US dollar? So you are going to use the 15 yuan multiplied by the exchange rate. So 15 times 0.14. So that's going to be 2.1 US dollars. All right. So that means you only need to spend $2.1 if you actually travel to China to buy a Big Mac. And that's less than half the price in New York. Okay. So this is the dollar price of a Big Mac in Beijing. All right. So you can see that if you have a $5, you can buy more. All right, you can buy more in China. All right. So let's say $5. Okay, you have $5 divided by 0.14 dollar per yuan, and see what you get. 5 divided by 0.14, so that's going to be 35.7 yuan. Okay, and that is larger than the 15 yuan. Okay, so you can see that dollar has more purchasing power in China. Dollar has more purchasing power in China. Okay, so with the same amount of dollar to buy the same product in the United States, okay, $5 buy one Big Mac in the United States, you can buy more than 2 Big Macs in China, because $5 under the conversion can give you 36 yuan, which is good enough to buy 2 burgers in China. Okay, or you can see that the Chinese stuff are pretty cheap in the eyes of Americans. You know, there is a trade war going on between U.S. and China, launched by President Donald Trump, and that's not good for U.S. people, because if Americans don't buy the cheap products from China, there could be a higher inflation in the country. I'm glad that this is the trade war is getting diminished, because the inflation is actually a big issue in the U.S. So they are encouraged to buy more from China, to import more products from China to curb the inflation, to prevent the inflation from going too high.